Hello everyone, I'm Alicia. I've been getting asked if I can create some more simple beginner-like bracelets. So I remembered when I designed the Majestic bracelet, the first thing I actually created was this little zigzag pattern here. And I really love this little zigzag pattern. It's really cute and pretty, but I wanted more, so that's why I added all these sea beads in it to make it really fancy. Now, you can make this zigzag pattern with really any size beads you want. Different shapes too. Rounds, bicones, it can be seed beads. But if you want to fill in the spaces, like I did with this bracelet, anklet, and the ring, you're going to have to use beads that fit just right in those spaces. Because if you use a bead that is too small, it's going to scrunch up. And if you use a bead that is too big, it's going to curve. So, I'm going to tell you the list of materials you're going to need to make a bracelet, anklet, and a ring. Here is the measurement you're going to need to make either the bracelet, anklet, or the ring. If you're going to make a bracelet, you're going to need 5.5 feet of 6-pound Fireline, and when you start out you want to leave a 9-inch tail. To make the anklet, you're going to need 7 feet of 6-pound Fireline, and you're also going to want to leave a 9-inch tail. To make the ring, you're going to need 2.5 feet of 6-pound Fireline, and you're going to leave a 6-inch tail. Here is the list of bead sizes to use together. Now, like I said earlier, if you want to do just the zigzag, you can really use any size bead you want. This is an anklet, and it is 10 inches long, and I used 4mm pearls to make it. And for the clasp, I just did these little seed beads. And it looks kind of screwy, but it's like that because when you connect it, it's straight. So that's why the seed beads look like that. Now, these are 4mm. If you want to do seed beads, if you're going to use 11-aught seed beads, you have to use 3mm beads to go in the spaces. And I also tried 6-aught seed beads with 11-aught. So this is 11-aughts with 3mm. And this is 11-aught seed beads with 6-aught seed beads. I measured the 6-aughts and they were 3mm. Now, it looks okay to me, but I really do like the 3mm instead of the 6-aught seed beads. I guess it kind of looks like this because the 6-aught seed beads are wider in diameter, but they are lengthwise from hole to hole. They are 3mm. So the wideness of the diameter is like 4mm, and then from hole to hole it's 3mm, so that's why it kind of looks like that. Now, if you want to do 8-aught seed beads, you're going to have to use 4mm beads to go in the spaces, and I used 4mm faceted rounds in this. Now, if you want to do 6-aught seed beads to make a bigger bracelet, you're going to have to use 5mm beads to go with it. These are glass 5mm bicones. I just had enough to make a bracelet. I have 42 of them. And you're also going to need a lobster claw clasp in 2 jump rings or split rings. I'm using split rings because they are more secure, but when you go to make the bracelet, you have to remember to pick them up when you're adding your loop, because if you don't, you can't really get them on unless you were to open them, because it's like a keychain ring. Now, I've been told that I'm crazy that 3mm beads that I used in this and in the ring, I used 3mm in this also, and 3mm, 5mm, and 7mm beads don't exist. They do exist. I know this for a fact because I have bought those sizes that said that on the package, and I have a digital caliper to measure them, so I know that that's what size they are. I'm not crazy, those size beads do exist. So, this is what you need to make the ring, bracelet, and anklet, and you can use 11-aughts, 8-aughts, and 6-aught seed beads to make it, and pearls or whatever you like. Let's get started. I'm going to be using 2 colors of seed beads for the zigzag part, so there's going to be diagonal lines in it, you'll see. First thing I'm going to do is pick up 3 seed beads, and I'm going to pick up a silver and 2 blacks and slide them down. Just like this, And to anchor it so our beads don't fall off, I'm going to go back through all 3 of them, just like this. And then I'm going to go through 2. Pull it through. Pull this. And we should get a little triangle. Make sure you have a 9-inch. I'm going to show you how I hold this so it doesn't fall out of my hand all the time. I'm going to wrap it around my ring finger, just like this. Then I'm holding it like this in my hand. Now, I'm going to pick up 2 seed beads. I'm going to pick up a silver and a black and go through the black in a circular direction. So, out of this one, I'm going around. Just like this, and then I'm going to go through this silver bead. Now I'm going to pick up 2 more beads. I'm going to pick up 2 black seed beads and go through this one. Pull it through. Then I'm going to go down through this one. I'm going to pick up 2 more seed beads, a silver and a black, and go down through this one. Then I'm going to go up through the silver bead. So this is what we have so far. I'm going to pick up 2 more black and go through the silver. Then I'm going to go down through this black seed bead. Just like this. Now, every time you're exiting out of one side of the seed bead, you should know that you have to go through the opposite side. So exiting out of this side, I always have to go through the side that I'm not exiting out of. So out of there, I have to pick up 1 silver and 1 black. Like this, and then go through the silver. So there are 2 ways of doing this. The way I'm doing it now, where I pick up 2 seed beads, and then I go through the silver, and then I go down through the next bead, this one. The other way of doing it, and it's easier to do when your working thread is longer because shorter, because when it's longer, you have to really outstretch your arm. So when your working thread gets shorter, all you do is pick up your 2 seed beads and slide them down, if you have a short tail. And then, instead of going through this bead and then stretching your arm out and then going through the next bead, I'm just going to go through these 2 seed beads. Right there, and pull through, and we get this. Same thing, it's just faster when your thread is shorter. So again, I'm going to do it. Pick up 2 seed beads, slide them down, and go through these 2, through the silver, one that we already have on, and through the black. It's just a faster way of doing it. You have to be careful sometimes when you do it this way, because I had went, I guess, around the other thread and I had twisted my threads, and when I got like the bracelet done, I looked back and noticed that this was twisting like this and it would not stay flat. It's because those threads were twisting inside and it was like making an own knot inside. So I'm going to do this a couple of times. So you can flip this either way, and it doesn't matter, because whatever hole you're coming out of, I'm coming out this bottom hole, that means I'm going to pick up 2 beads and I'm going to go through the opposite hole that I'm not coming out of. So out of this one, I pick up a silver and a black, and I'm going to go through this one. Just like this. I'm going to do it again. 2 black seed beads, go through this one, and then down through this one. One more time. 1 silver, 1 black, down through this one, and then through this one. So keep going, doing this stitch until you get to the length of the ring, bracelet, or anklet that you're making. Now if you're making a ring, of course you're going to have to use 11/0 seed beads to make a ring because it has to be small. I kept on going and I got to the length of the bracelet I'm going to need, and now I'm going to show you how to add on the clasp. So I did this with 6/0 seed beads, and to add my clasp I'm going to use smaller 11/0 seed beads like I did in the Majestic bracelet and like I do in my other bracelets. I use the smaller seed beads at the clasp. So exiting out of this silver 6/0 seed bead, I'm going to pick up 6 11/0 seed beads. So there's 6. And now I'm going to pick up part of my clasp, and I'm picking it up now because I'm using split rings and I can't add it on later. So if you're using jump rings, you don't have to pick it up right now. So 6 seed beads in my clasp, and I'm going to go through this 6/0 seed bead in the opposite direction to make a circle, just like this. And now I'm going to go back through all 6 of the seed beads to secure it, through this clasp, back through all 6 here, pull through, and now we have this. So you have to pull this to tighten it up. Looks just like this. Now if you lay this down and look, you'll notice that if you're not going to fill in the spaces, you would just go back through the 6/0 seed bead, and then you would weave through all these, tying your knots. But when you fill in the sides, you're going to have a little gap on one side right here that I stuck an 11/0 seed bead in, and then the other side you're going to have a big gap. So right here is my big gap, and right here is my little gap. So in the big gap I'm going to put a larger bead in it. So I'm using the 6/0, so I'm going to do a 5mm bead, and then I'm going to go through this 6/0. So straight out of those 11s into the 5mm bead, and then through the 6/0 seed bead, just like this. Now I'm going to work the whole side of this bracelet, adding in the 5mm beads, and when I get to the end over here, I'm going to have to add another spot for my clasp. So one at a time, and go through the 6/0 seed bead, just like this. Now this can be pretty time consuming doing one at a time, so I'm going to show you what you can do to make it faster. So just like that, one at a time. To make it faster, what I've done, exiting out of the seed bead, is I pick up a bead, go through a seed bead, pick up another bead, go through a seed bead, and the whole time I'm working up the length of my needle. So out the seed bead, pick up another bead, go through this one, pick up another bead, go through this one. So you see you already have 4 seed bead, or 4 bicones on, doing it this way, and it's making it much faster. Pick up another one and go through the seed bead. So now I'm going to pull the entire needle through, and we just added 5 bicones by doing it that way. So again, exiting out of this, I'm going to pick up my bicone through here, pick up another one, slide it on through this one, another one, go through, go through this one, and pull it through. So keep going, filling in the side of your bracelet until you get to this end, and I'll show you what to do next. I kept on going and I filled in the rest of the beads over here, and now I'm here and I filled in my last largest hole, and the next spot here I cannot put a big bead there. So I'm sitting my working thread, my needle here, off to the side, and I'm going to take my tail that I left and I'm going to pick up 6 11/0 seed beads, and then I have to pick up the other half of my clasp, just like this. I'm going to go through this silver bead, the 6/0, and now I have to go through the 11/0 seed beads that I picked up, and through the other half of my clasp. So there's one. I'm just going to turn this around so I can see it better. Two. Three. Okay, that's all 6, and then I'm going to go back through this 6/0 seed bead. Push it through. Just like this. Pull it snug. And now I'm going to show you how to go around this end over here, so it looks good. Now I'm going to take my working thread, and if you look here, you could see that where I'm at now is the short side, so I can't fit a large bead here. I have to fit the large bead here, so I'm going to pick up a seed bead and go through all 6 of these seed beads. Now you might have it different. You might, depending on how you finished your bracelet off, you might have, I have a big bead on this side, and down here I'm going to have a small bead. So it might be swapped around. You might have a big bead on the same side, and down here you might have a big gap and you're filling in a big gap. So right now I have a small gap, depending on what size bracelet or anklet you're making. So I'm filling in this smaller gap, the 11/0 seed bead, and you could tell if it doesn't fit in right that you have to use the bigger or small. I'm going to go through all 6 of these seed beads, so I caught my bracelet, and through the clasp. To pull this one tight, and then I can pull that one. Okay, now I'm ready to add on the rest of my 5mm beads. So leave your tail, stick off to the side, and right here is my big gap that I have to fill, and I'm going to pick up a 5mm bead and put that in the space so it looks like this. And now I'm just gonna do it the fast way, picking up one bead, going through the seed bead, and with my hand I'm gonna slip them on the needle and go through a seed bead. So continue doing this until you get to the other end of your bracelet. Just like this. One at a time. Pull it through. Keep going, filling in the sides. I finished filling in the side, and now I'm going to show you how to do this over here. So I'm going to fill in the small gap that I have with a seed bead, and I'm going to go through all of these 6/0 seed beads. So stick that in there, and to the clasp, through these three, and through my first bead there. Pull it through. And now I'm ready to tie half hitch knots going along the sides. Before I tie the knots, I just want to tell you something. Before you tie the knots, don't pull the thread so tight that the bracelet is really stiff. You need it to be real soft and flexible. So you could tell that if you pull it real tight and then touch the bracelet, it's kind of stiff. So what I do, so it's not real stiff and strange, I just grab both ends and I pull it like this, and it just loosens it up a little bit, so the bracelet is really soft and real nice and flexible. So after that, I'm going to do half hitch knots. I'm exiting out of this bead right here, and I'm going to go underneath the bead and snatch this thread, make a loop, and go through the loop twice. And pull the knot down. And then I'm going to go through the next bead. And the knot's going to go into that bead. Then I'm going to make another knot. Go right here, under that bead, catch that thread, make a loop, and go through it twice. I only went through it once there, that's twice. Okay. Pull it down. And then I'm going to go through the next bead. I'm going to do it one more time. Go behind this bead where the thread's at, make a loop, and go through the loop twice, and pull the knot down. Now I'm going to go through the next bead, and the knot goes into that bead. So keep on going, tying half hitch knots alongside this bracelet until you get far where you don't have enough thread to go. And you're going to do the same exact thing over here. So this tail thread is actually sticking out this 6/C bead. So what you're going to do, I don't know if I can do it without a needle, is go through this 6/C bead, and then you're going to start tying your half hitch knots. And you're going to want to put a needle on this thread, of course, to tie your half hitch knots on this side of the bracelet. Okay, so now I'm going to show you how to turn the stitch into a ring so it is continuous all the way around. Now I'm going to show you how to make the ring. So the ring is done with the same exact stitch that I just did the bracelet in. And if you remember at the beginning, I said to make the ring, you need 2.5 feet of 6-pound Fireline. Now, you have to have a 6-inch tail over here, and once you get to a certain length, you're going to check it to see if it fits your finger. And if it comes together, just like this, then you know it's going to fit you. So now, make sure, of course, that you use 11/C beads for the ring because it is small. Now I'm going to connect this side to this side, but in order to do that, I have to make sure that this end and this end are the same exact. So if you look, this little triangle is pointing in the same direction that this one is, and it's pointing down, but even if I flip it, it's pointing up, but the ends are still the same. As you could tell, that they match. One is not different from the other. So now that they are the same, I'm going to take my needle and I'm going to go, it's exiting out of this seed bead in that direction. I'm going to take my needle and go through this 11/C bead over here in this direction. So this one's going that way, and I'm going around and through this C bead here. So pull it through and make sure that it's flat, that it's not twisted before we do this. Okay, my ring's flat, and if you look right here, this is my tail. This is my working thread. Coming out that seed bead, I went through this one. I'm going to pick up a new seed bead. I'm going to go through this 11-knot seed bead. Pull this through. And then I'm going to go through this one. And then I have to go through this one so I can fill in the sides. Just like this. Filling in the sides is going to be the same as the bracelet. I'm just going to pick one bead up at a time and go through here. Now I have to do one bead at a time this way. I can't really stick my needle through then slide them on my needle and pull like 5 down at a time. I have to do one at a time in the ring, which isn't bad because the ring is small. So just like this, fill in this side and go all the way around the ring, and when you come to the other side where you meet up to where you filled in last, I'll show you what to do from there. So keep going. Now I'm over here and I'm going to put in my last bead and go through this seed bead right here. Pull it through. Okay, so I fill in that space. And if you look up here at my tail's exiting out this middle bead, so I need to get my tail to come out a side seed bead. Now if I go this way, my tail's going to have to go through this bead, and then through that one, and then through that one. So I'm going to go to the left, where my thread just goes directly out the side bead. So right there. Now this is ready for later on when I go to tie the knots. So I'm going to take this thread and I have to get it to come up to the top. So exiting out of this 11-knot seed bead here, I'm going to go up through this 11, and then I'm going to go through this 11. And now I'm ready to add my beads again. So from now, you're just going to add these beads until you get to the other side. And when you get over there, I'm going to show you how to close it off. So keep going, filling in these spaces. So I have 2 more beads to put in. I'm right here. And right here is my thread sticking out this one. So I'm just going to go right past it and fill in my last spots. Just like this. Pull it snug. And my working thread and my tail are exiting out the same side, and I don't want that because I'm going to have to take one of my threads and tie knots going this way. I don't want to get stuck on that side because I already have knots on there with my other thread. So exiting out of this seed bead, I'm going to go through this one, and I'm going to go back to the other side of the ring. So this one here. Now I'm on this side of the ring, and my other tail is on the other side of the ring. So now I'm going to tie half-inch knots on this side with my needle, and when I finish, I'll take and put my needle on that thread and tie half-inch knots on that side. I'm going to show you how to do the knots again. It's the same as the bracelet. So right here, exiting out of that 11-knot seed bead, I'm going to go underneath this bead and catch this thread right here, and I'm going to go through this loop twice and pull my knot down slowly and make sure that it falls right there where I need it to fall. Then I'm going to go through this bead, just the one, And I'm going to do the same thing, tie another 1/2 inch knot right here. Go through the loop twice and pull it down. So keep going, doing a 1/2 inch knot as far as you can until you run out of thread, and then you cut your thread off. And do the same thing on this side. Put your needle on this side and do the same knots going in this direction. So I just realized that when I made this bracelet, I picked up 6 11-aught seed beads and I went through the 6-aught seed bead. So I have a bigger loop here for my clasp. Well, on this one, I actually picked up 4 and went through the 8-aught seed bead. And this one I did the same thing too. I picked up 4 11-aught seed beads and then I went through that 11-aught seed bead to finish off. So my hole's smaller. It still works just fine. I just realized that I did them a little bit differently. So this is it. Thanks for watching. If you like this video, please click the like button. Leave me a comment. Subscribe if you want to see more videos, and follow me on Facebook. Thanks for watching.